going on, guys, and welcome back to Podcast 129. My name is Hunter Waltrip, and to my left is Mr. Jake Stinchcomb. I'm in a different location, as you can see, back home for the holidays up here in Northwest Georgia. So we got to get this done on a Wednesday. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Jake, you're about to graduate. You taking your little senior pictures. You know, you got a big weekend ahead of you and lots of family stuff going on. So I know how you're feeling, but for the sake of the podcast, Jake, how are we doing tonight?
Good, man. Very excited for the next season of change I'm about to be going through in my life. A lot of things changing, starting into a new chapter of life. Very excited for it. What a week. What a Thanksgiving week. I was thinking about this before we started. In the past and as a child, Thanksgiving week wasn't very hyped up and exciting as it is now. And the reason for that is I feel like as kids, we were always excited about Christmas. We had Thanksgiving break a little bit in high school, but then we'd have to go back for like 3 or 4 weeks until Christmas. We were ready for Christmas break to be here, ready for gifts, all the Christmas stuff, right? But now as we've gotten older and we've matured and we've changed into grown men, Hunter, on Thanksgiving and our bellies have grown, Thanksgiving has turned into the greatest week in sports ever. I mean, there's been football all week. It's feast week for college. College hoops is through the roof right now. NBA Cup play, NFL football, Black Friday, Thanksgiving Day. Another thing is like Thanksgiving as a kid, you know, you'd sit at the kids' table. And then as soon as you're done, you're going outside and you're playing football in the yard. You're playing in the leaves. Now, as soon as I get my plate of food and
you're sweating out beds,
my ass is going to be on the couch all day tomorrow watching ball. So, and that's just how it's changed. So this week has turned into one of my favorite weeks of the year. The sports are through the absolute roof right now, not just college football, which is what we talk about, but everything. Everywhere you look, there's sports. And like I've been up until 2:00 every night this week, Hunter, every night watching late night hoops, whether it's been the Players Era tournament, the Mally Invitational. Sports are awesome right now. I love this week. I hope it never ends. It's great.
Yeah, I've been getting action notifications at 2 a.m. of you live betting stuff. It's pretty great. Yeah, but yeah, you are going through a lot of change, and I'm happy for you as always, and glad we could do this. And I mean, hey, we got football all the way through January, and as soon as football's over, we're going right into college hoops on here. Got to keep it going, man. We don't just pay StreamYard for a few months. We got to pay them for the year. So we're going to keep it rolling with the college hoops. But this is arguably the best week of the year every year. And I'm not a big 12-team playoff guy, but there are a lot more games that matter on Rivalry Week this year because of the 12-team playoff. With that being said, there's not 12 teams good enough to compete for a championship, but that's a discussion for another day. Another discussion. However, this week is going to rock. There are so many unknowns. As you can see, I've got Lane Kiffin on here because not a lot of people are actually talking about the game of the Egg Bowl. Everybody's just talking about, well, when's the Lane Kiffin announcement coming? Where's he going? And then on my left, I've got somebody who can either go down as a Michigan legend or he's going to start off his career on a rocky beginning. And we'll leave that at that. There's Mr. Bryce Underwood. But, Jake, how about you tell him about the social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as always, we're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We are on TikTok at podcast_129 for Instagram and X, and then at podcast about 129 for TikTok. This week, we are going to be active on these. As it's the last week of the regular season, it's the biggest regular season week thus far. Just action all the way through the weekend, and we want to make sure that we finish strong here down the stretch. So we will be active, and there will be graphics, and everything will be posted. Hunter does a good job in general. So if you're listening to this and you're not following our social media accounts, please go do so. Comment on our stuff, like our stuff. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jake, was there a take that you said you wanted to start the show with, or was that the whole Thanksgiving?
No. The thing that we referred to pre-show when we get to the game that I'd like to bring it up in, we'll do that.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a certain game or if it was broad.
It is, it's a certain game, but we'll wait till we get there.
All right. First game on the list, starting on Friday at noon. We got Ole Miss, 7.5-point favorites, traveling to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Fighting Brandon Walkers. This game, like I said in the intro, man, like everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin. They're talking about, man, is it going to get leaked before the game? Is it going to get leaked during the game? Is it going to get leaked after the game? Hello? Can I help you? Hang on, Jake. Sorry.
I didn't realize you were in here doing your thing.
It's just Big John.
What up, Jakey?
What's up, Big John? How are you?
I'm all right. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving, man.
You too. Hey, what's your lock of the week for the podcast? What's your play of the week?
What's your play of the week? Who's your favorite team to win this week?
Langston Hughes against Gainesville.
That is hilarious. Book
That's
it.
great.
Oh,
You can't say Georgia. You got to pick a different team. You got to go with Auburn?
my money's on Ashton Daniels.
That's right. Come on. Come on.
Look, I've watched that kid as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior come in as a backup quarterback at the highest classification and win state championships.
There you go.
In 3 of the games, he came in at half and took over and led the team. If he can get the ball to that big, tall receiver, he might give him a run for the money.
There you have it.
All right. There it is. I love
There's a big difference. Ashton Daniels is a winner. That other boy was like Carson Beck. He just wanted to get paid.
That's right. That's right.
We got
I
there.
love it.
Y'all take time. Be good.
There you have it. Big John's play of the week.
Should we leave that in the show?
Yes, 100%.
Should we leave that in?
1,000%.
Okay. I think that should get left in. That was pretty entertaining. And he didn't say any cuss words. He just glazed the Auburn Tigers and Ashton Daniels. He's a Georgia guy. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to just start from the top here. Anyways, Egg Bowl, 12 o'clock, Friday afternoon, number 7th ranked Ole Miss Rebels, laying 7.5 points, going on the road to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, a.k.a. the Fighting Brandon Walkers. He's not going to be there. So Mississippi State has a chance to win the game. Like, if he's there, Mississippi State never wins. Regardless, like I was talking about, all the talk is on Lane Kiffin. Nobody's talking about the X's and O's of this game. So I'll try and break it down as much as I can and then kind of hand it off to you, and then we can have a little bit of a discussion on Lane because that's such a hot topic, and I think there will be an announcement made after this game, and we need to give our predictions on where we think he's going to go. So Mississippi State, man, they're very good at running into a brick wall. Like, they like to run the ball first and try and establish that run, but sometimes when they're playing these bigger SEC teams, and I know they are an SEC team, but when they're playing the top tier, it's like running into a brick wall. Sometimes can't get anything going. Is Blake Shapen playing this game, or are they going to play the backup freshman? I'm not exactly sure. Whoever it is, if it's Shapen, I like their chances of throwing the ball a little bit more because I think this Ole Miss secondary can get got. But they're going to have to establish a run game because we saw what Ole Miss – I got to get tip my cap Golding on this. When they played at LSU, they just knew they can't run the ball. So they just – on third downs, they just dropped 9 and brought 2. Or they were dropping 8, 9 guys back and just kept everything in front of them. So they know how to win this game. Mississippi State's going to have to try and find some way to get the run game going. As far as Ole Miss, they're very good at running the football. Mississippi State, not very good at stopping the run. They rank in like the 120s in stopping the run this year. They've been beaten up. They don't have a lot of depth. And Kawan Lacey could have another career day this weekend. I might be looking at us over on the rushing prop. I don't think Trinidad Chambliss going to have to do too much. He can use his legs as well, as we know. I think if you're picking Mississippi State to win the game here, you're picking it because you think of all the external dynamics going on at the Ole Miss program right now. You're thinking about, like, how can Lane Kiffin get his team ready to go before playing a rivalry game? Like, he's got so much stuff on his mind. Like, how is he actually getting his team prepared? And you're picking a hungry underdog that just wants to ruin somebody's season and the controversy going on at Oxford. with all that being said, like Jake, where are you laying in on this game? What's your like take on how you're gonna pick it? Are you picking the situation? Are you gonna pick the teams like everything's normal?
Yeah, and that's one thing, and it's a theme that I'll bring up again, probably in most of these games, but this week specifically, rivalry week, it's always looked at differently because it's week 12, week 13, whatever. It's the game 12 for everybody, and it's rivalry week. There's playoff implications. There's bowl game eligibility implications. There's coaching carousels going on. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of teams. Ole Miss, Ohio State, Alabama, teams in the top 12 going on the road as favorites. And I think the key in any of these games, and specifically in this week, is do not let teams hang around. And you need to go in there and get your business done. And you don't have to, I mean, you're not going to blow them out. It's a rivalry week. But Mississippi State, this is the number one game of the factor that I'm talking about it applies to, because if you let Mississippi State hang around and it's 21-17 a half and you're down 4 or up 4, it's really interesting. So I think Ole Miss comes in hot, striking hot, and trying to get out in front early, because you don't want to mess around and be one of those 10-2 teams and have to start comparing resumes to other people, because they're sitting at 7. And if they lose, I'm not saying they're out. I'm not saying they're 100% in, but they would put themselves in a position where they would be 10-2 and wouldn't. Go ahead, Hunter.
No, I'll let you finish your point. Finish your point.
No, I was just saying it's not something you don't want to take. You don't want to take this lightly. You want to get in and get out, because you don't want to put yourself in that 10-2 mix where the committee and people start comparing you to other teams. I wouldn't like that position. I'm in the same position as a Georgia fan. Yes, I feel comfortable that we're in regardless, but I don't want to be put in the 10-2 mix, because there's going to be so many of them, and I don't want to be compared to other teams. So that's just my take on it. I think Ole Miss comes in hot, and tries to get up early, and quickly, as fastly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. If Ole Miss loses, I think they're out.
Big possibility.
Even if Lane stays, I think there's like a 90% chance they're out. If he leaves, it's a 100% chance, and they lose this game, that they're out. Heck, I think if they win this game and he leaves, they still might get docked to a road spot here. Yeah. And the reason I think the committee is honestly a big Mississippi State fan this week, so they can put Miami and Notre Dame in and not have to worry about making a tough decision.
Yeah.
That's who they're cheering for. And they're big Ohio State fans this week, so they don't have to boot. So they don't have to put Michigan in there.
Yeah. I'm glad about this game. I'm glad you brought up Kewan Lacey. I think they run the ball a lot here. Like you said, Chambliss isn't going to have to do a lot. Kewan Lacey's very interesting, intriguing to me, because he's like quietly maybe a top 5 to 7 back in the SEC. And he's not really talked about much. Yeah, 3. You could say 3. I'm 100% down for that. I'm just saying, not talked about a lot. And I think he went for like 220 last week. Maybe I'm wrong. He's been balling out. Good running back. Something that's interesting to me, this is apart from the game, he's only a sophomore. And if Lane leaves, he might be the top back in the portal in the offseason. And whoever gets him, it's probably going to be Ohio State. That would be insane. That feels like Ohio State, just because
No. If Lane is wearing purple and gold next year, Kewan Lacey is repping purple and gold. He's playing for Lane. I believe that. Anyways, I'll make a pick.
Side point, but very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and make a pick on this game, just because I know we have like 8 to get to. We got a long preview. Ole Miss 38, Hail State 27. I think, like you said, Jake, I liked that you brought up how Ole Miss is going to start fast. I think there's too much of a talent discrepancy and like a depth discrepancy, and I don't get me wrong. Like, I know it's a rivalry game and everything else, but I like Ole Miss to win and cover. I think they're going to start fast. Mississippi State's going to crawl back in it there towards the end, but ultimately won't be able to pull off the complete comeback here. So I'll take the Rebels.
Yeah, good stuff. We're right on the same mark as far as point prediction goes. I said 38-28 Rebs. So
good stuff. Oh, prediction. Where's Lane Kiffin? Is he staying at Ole Miss or is he leaving? He's staying?
I've been on the stay. I haven't changed. I think he's staying.
Man, I think I've changed my outlook 3 past weeks. 3 weeks ago, I was like, yeah, he's staying. 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, he's going to Florida. And this week, I've been like, dang, he might be going to LSU. I really can't make up my mind. I think it's either LSU or stay. I think Florida's out of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets on the mic after the game and just does the Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't leaving. Does the whole – because that would be like a most Lane Kiffin thing ever. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he's an LSU Tiger.
Yeah.
Moving on. Battle of the Governor's Cup in the state of Georgia. The number 4 ranked Bulldogs laying 13.5 in a quote-unquote neutral site game in Atlanta, about 5 miles down the road from Georgia Institute of Technology, who the Dogs are taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets after dropping a second game last week to the Pitt Panthers at home, pretty much doing away with their ACC championship hopes. So now they got nothing to lose. Man, this is not necessarily the team that you want to be playing if you're Georgia, a team that has nothing to lose and has been so close the past 2 years. I mean, 2 one-possession games 2 years in a row, on the precipice of just pulling off a major upset in either one of those seasons. And all they'd like to do is to beat their rival at the end of the year. So with all that being said, Jake, I know I kind of rambled on at the beginning of the Egg Bowl. I'd like for you to start off this one.
Yeah, so Tech really screwed this up because preseason, looking at both teams' schedules, there's a big opportunity for both of us to be 11-0 or 10-1 coming into this game. And we did our job, all right, and especially with it being in the Benz, in-state rivalry, just massive, massive implications. Still going to be a good game. But instead, Tech chooses to get their ass handed to them. I mean, absolutely mollywopped at home last week against Pitt. And it really took like a big just excitement out of the game. Like, yes, I'm still excited. It's still a huge game for both teams, in my opinion. But on the other hand, I really was hoping Tech would be 10-1 and still in the playoff mix. Now they're way on the outside looking in. For Tech, to me, this is, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show. I think we're going to see a lot about Brent Key as a coach this week. How can he get his team off the mat after last week? That kind of was like a season killer. Is he telling his team that, hey, look, if you beat the number 4 team in the country and finish 10-2, we still got a shot at getting in this 12-team playoff? Or are they just going to come in lollygagging, which I don't think that's going to be the thing with a Brent Key coach team. But I'm interested to see their mentality, I guess, going into the game and on the field on Saturday. Georgia, I think we're going to be able to run it down their throat. That Tech defense, Georgia could score 70 here if they wanted to. I really believe that. I think everything will be clicking in Tech. Their defense isn't as good as it was last year. The defense has never been like crazy good under Brent Key, but I don't think they're as physical as they were defensively last year. And I think Georgia rolls with comfort here. Very exciting game indoors. I think we're going to see a lot of points. Definitely an over game. But I think Tech needs it more. But I think there's a big talent gap. And if Georgia can get pressure on Haynes King and keep him contained the way they did with Arch Manning, they are going to be just fine on Friday afternoon. So I'm going with the Dogs here, 45-31.
Good stuff, man. So there has not been a lot of teams this year that have been successful on running the football against Georgia, if any. Like, genuinely, they've done a very good job of running the football and stopping the run. The 2 things Kirby said all the way back in July that his team was going to be good at. And, man, it seems like you already could tell they were good at it, but they've gotten progressively better at it every single week. So if they can stop the Haynes King run, I mean, they're going to win the game. That's just kind of how it is. If you stop Haynes King, you win. With that said, man, I know Haynes King's going to lay it all out there on the line. Big game in the Benz, which is stupid. This game should be played on home soil each year. I don't agree with it. However, it's just a 1-year little thing, whatever. But like you said, Jake, I think Georgia Tech's defense unloaded the clip last week. When they went down 28-0, in that second half, they made a lot of really good stands. I don't think they have that in them 2 weeks in a row, especially against a better offensive line and a better team. Furthermore, look at Georgia Tech's games against NC State, Boston College, Pittsburgh. their offense has had to unload the clip too. I don't know how much they got left in the tank. They've had to score a lot of points, and that is not how they are designed to keep it going. So, with that said, I am going to take Georgia. I think they're going to score a lot, and I think their defense will do just enough to win. I'll take the Dogs 41-24. I know that Tech gave them fits over the past 2 years, and especially last year. With that said, I think there's been a lot of teams schematically in the 2025 season, such as Florida, such as Tennessee, a little, well, maybe not Tennessee, but kind of Tennessee. And just formation wise and schematics, there have been teams, and Auburn did a lot of this, that did and copied the Buster Faulkner kind of offense and ran it against Georgia. Georgia's seen it a lot more. I think they're more prepared for it. And I think there's nothing more that Kirby wants to do than to leave no doubt that these two teams are not that close as there has been in the past 2 seasons. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's ready to go. Like I said, I'll take Georgia 41-24. I think Jake might be on the phone or doing something right now, so I'll keep the show rolling. Oh, yeah, he just texted me. He said, keep it rolling. All right. Lone Star Showdown, second year that this rivalry game has been back since 2012, 2011. I'm referring to the number 3 ranked Texas A&M Aggies laying 2.5 points on the road at Austin to take on the University of Texas, who got bumped up to number 16 after a win against Arkansas last week. Man, this game, first thing that comes to my head in this game is big bro versus little bro. And Texas being the big brother and just always finding a way to win this game and whoop up on little brother. And then you got little old Texas A&M coming in here. Well, Texas A&M is the team that's favored on the road. Texas A&M is the team that's favored, or not favored, undefeated, I should say. I didn't mean to repeat myself. Texas A&M is the team that's undefeated. They're 11-0. All they got to do is win this game, and they're in the SEC championship. Texas, 9-3, or they have 8-3 right now, I should say, rather. They already eliminated from the SEC championship. They're eliminated from the playoff. What are you going to do here? This doesn't seem as the same big brother versus little brother. But if there's anything that we've seen in rivalry games and some of these other head-to-head matchups that teams play throughout every single year in conferences, some of this stuff is a mental hump. I'm curious to see if this is a mental hump for Texas A&M. I don't know if it will be for Mike Elko, and I don't know if it will be for this team, just due to the fact of the gap there's been in this rivalry since, like I said, the last time it was played was 2011, and then they finally started back up last year in 2024. That's 13 years that this has not been a thing, and now we have it back. And this is a culture game for Mike Elko. Like, yeah, no, there is no big brother, little brother. We're just Texas A&M, and we're the Fighting Aggies, and we're going to win the football game. And then on the other side, you got the Texas Longhorns, where it's like, nah, we're Texas. We're the team that runs this state, and we're going to be the ones that get it done. And nothing's going to change here. But going back to the mental hump thing, you've seen it over the past 4 years from Michigan, Ohio State. You've seen it in Georgia, Florida, I feel like. You've seen it in Tennessee, Florida, for most parts. Like, Tennessee couldn't win in the swamp for 22 years until last week. So all these things, though, none of it is 100%. But that being said, oh, Jake's back. I'm just talking about the big brother, little brother aspect of this game.
Yeah.
Seeing, like, how is this going to go? I said this is a culture game for Mike Elko. There might not be a big brother, little brother for them. They didn't play this game in 13 years until last year, you know? So how's it going to be? What's the mental intake for these games? And if you're looking at it, big brother versus little brother, well, one team's 11-0, and it just needs to win this game to get to the SEC championship, whereas the other team is 8-3, and all their postseason hopes are out the window. And big brother's the one that's down bad right now. How's this going to plan out? I haven't actually gone into the X's and O's of this game. I've just been given the mental part of this. Like, you've seen it with Michigan, Ohio State. I said you've seen it with Georgia, Florida. You've seen it with Florida, Tennessee, where Tennessee couldn't win the swamp for 22 years until last week. So, Jake, I'll let you – I kind of rambled on a little bit about this. I'll let you go ahead and – oh, hang on. We got some college football news that just came across my screen. LSU informs Brian Kelly he has been terminated without cause, meaning the school is set to owe him all $54 million. Okay. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I like how you're talking about the little brother, big brother thing. This game I have been back and forth on all year, to be honest. I think preseason I had Texas winning this game, maybe. And throughout the season, it's been a big Texas spot in my eyes. But the more I think about it, and the more it comes down to it, Texas has been the big game issue. The physicality hadn't been there. The team doesn't really look prepared. I don't know if that's a Sarkisian thing or a player's thing. I think it falls on Sarkisian, but it's happened several times in big games in the past 2 calendar years. We've seen it against Ohio State. We've seen it against Georgia. And every time they get in even Oklahoma this year, they get in these big games, they play slow. They're not as physical. And A&M, like you said, Hunter, this is a culture game for them. I think Texas A&M wins on Saturday night against popular belief around the people in my circles. Everybody has Texas win this game. I think I'm going to be on A&M just because they have everything in front of them. First, I think this is going to be their potential to be their first 12-0 season ever, maybe, definitely in years, and their first conference title game. Hopes. Well, they've been to one, but they've never won one, correct? So yeah, big things on the line. I think it's a culture game for Mike Elko, and I think they have more offensive talent than Texas A&M does. I think they're a more physical team, and they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna have to score many points here. So I'm going with A&M.
I like that. I think the key matchup here is the Texas A&M defensive line taking on the Texas offensive line. Who's going to win that battle? Because Texas offensive line has not been able to block a team worth a dang this year, and that Texas A&M defensive front is legit. They are beast, and if they can't hold up and Arch Manning does not have time, it's going to be a long one. And I think A&M, but I do think there'll be a competitive balance here. I've also been going back and forth on this game, but Jake, you know what I've been saying. I'm a sucker for a dog that's 2.5 point spread, man. I'm taking Texas outright, 28-27. Not very. It's on the best bet. I'll go ahead and spoil this. I know it's on the best bets page, subject to change, but we'll see. I do like Texas to win, though. I think this is just an at-home game. Ruin your little brother's season and ruin their playoff bye, ruin their conference championship hopes, all of that. And this might be the game where it's like, oh, yeah, Arch Manning, we were just a year early on him. He's winning the Heisman next year. I could totally see ESPN running with all that. But I've been leaning Texas. I don't want to go away from my gut. I think the line's 2.5 for a reason. I'm going to roll with it. Hook 'em.
I'm going, I got A&M 24-21, lower scoring. Quick question. If A&M wins this game on Friday night, is there a possibility that on Tuesday night A&M jumps Indiana in the rankings? Is that going to happen, or are they just going to keep it the same going into conference championship?
No, they'll definitely keep it the same. There's no way. There's no way you can bump up a team that was losing 30-3 to South Carolina.
It's true. That is true. Just a thought.
This is okay. Hot take. I know I'm from the South. And the Iron Bowl is known as the greatest rivalry, at least this below the Mason-Dixon line. Screw that, bro. This is the best rivalry in college football. Ohio State, number 1 in the land, 10.5 point favorites, traveling to the University of Michigan, going to Ann Arbor, taking on the 15th ranked Wolverines. True freshman Bryce Underwood. This might be the biggest test of his career. I don't know if he'll see an Ohio State defense that's as good as this, as we perceive it to be at least, in the next 3 years. This might be the biggest game of his career, and he just don't even know it yet. I think everything else might come a lot easier for him in the next 3 years as well. We'll see. This is a Ryan Day game, man. There's just no other way to say it. This is a Ryan Day game. That guy last year was like, nope, I'm not going to get out physical by Michigan. I'm going to go in there and run the ball. And then you got put in the phone booth, and Mason Graham whooped your tail, and you found a way to lose with a $22 million roster, Jack Sawyer. None of those guys ended up beating Michigan. That's the thing. There's not a single player on the Ohio State roster who has beaten Michigan. And there's not a single player on the Michigan roster who's lost to Ohio State. That is nuts. Because for the longest time we were growing up, it was Ohio State belt the ass every year. And now for the past 4 years, Michigan's like, nah, simmer down. Big brother's back. Jim Harbaugh got him there, and then even Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore coached the national championship team against Ohio State because Harbaugh was suspended. Then Sharon Moore finds a way to win last year. I'm not a big Sharon Moore guy, but I got to tip my cap where the cap is due. I mean, it's simple here. Don't get stuck in a phone booth. Play your game, Ryan Day. Play your game. You got Jeremiah Smith coming back. You got 5 stars all across the board. You even got a really good tight end of Max Clare who's going to go in the top 100, and some eyes are going to go, who the heck is that? He's really good. And you got the number 2 in the odds right now, Heisman Trophy quarterback, who has thrown in 5 games more touchdown passes than he's had incompletions. That is pretty spectacular. I know that they haven't, quote unquote, played a good defense or like a top tier defense. I don't care. You got to be accurate with the football, and you still got to make good decisions. I think that's impressive wherever you are. And Bryce Underwood, Sharon Moore, you gonna finally start the keys to the Ferrari? It's about that time. I know he's still working on his throwing mechanics and all that, but like the boy can run the football. And Michigan played. I think he played really good against Maryland last week. Started put a little bit more touch on passes, but man, they're gonna have to. You know what Michigan's got to do? They just got to run the ball. They're gonna have to run the ball. And they might run into a brick wall 1, 2, 3 times, but then like 2 minutes come off the clock and, oh, there's a 12-yard run. Oh, we're going to take another 2, 3 minutes off. Oh, my gosh, 60-yard touchdown. Michigan's the number 1 team in the country with explosive runs this year. Ohio State is number 1 at stopping the explosive run this year. Very interesting matchup. 10.5-point favorites for a team that hasn't won in 4 straight years. What's your take on it, Jake?
Yeah, something that I don't think is being talked about enough is about this game, around the talk of this game, is 2 weeks ago, we were sitting in my house watching Michigan at Northwestern down the stretch, a game that Michigan had no business winning. And in the event that they lost that game, that would have put them at 3 losses. They would be, if they were ranked, they'd be at the bottom of the top 25. And this game wouldn't have as much hype, or it always has hype around it, but it wouldn't be as important for Michigan. But all of a sudden, all of the talk in the Big Ten about Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, USC, all of a sudden, Michigan has snuck their way back up to number 15, and they're in a spot where if they win on Saturday, they're in the college football playoff. I firmly believe that. If they win, they're in. So that just heightens stakes here for me. But like you said, it's Ohio State game where they don't have to do much. Jeremiah Smith's playing. Carnell Tate, I know he's still questionable, but I think he will end up playing. I think it takes about 13 points for them to win this game. And then as far as Michigan goes, they got to run the ball. And if they don't score first, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think there's a world where they go down 7-0 and find a way to win. I think Bryce Underwood has to use his legs here and get just not only the ground game going, but his legs going as well. Because if he throws the ball 30 times, and that's going to be a case where they're down 28-0 at halftime. So I expect Michigan to play very physical, very slow offensively. And if they can I think we'll know really early on Saturday how this game is going to go. Whoever gets the ball, like if Ohio State gets the ball first and goes 3 and out, and that crowd's bumping, Michigan's flying around, then they go and take 7 minutes off the clock and get a field goal, and they're up 3-0 at the end of the first. Okay, then we can talk. I think we'll know really early, but I could also see where Ohio State gets the ball and hits Jeremiah Smith for a 70-yarder, and that crowd's out of it early. So very interested to see what happens on Saturday. I'm not going against as history. What is it this Tyler says? History tends to repeat itself. Not this week. I really don't see a world where Michigan wins. I'm going with Ohio State 23-10.
Good stuff, man. Well, the thing is this year, like I think Ohio State knows that they can't run the ball. Like they're not a very good rushing team statistically this year. And like I said earlier, they haven't like played some star-studded defensive teams. And you brought up a good point. And there's 2 ways you can look at that Michigan Northwestern game. You'd be like, dude, Michigan barely beat Northwestern. Like they have no, like, dude, that's so BS. Of course, Michigan won. Or you could be like, how did a team that was -5 in the turnover battle win the football game? I think that's a testament to the defense. So I think, but with all that said, two last things. Like I said, Ohio State, they can't run the football. So I don't think they're going to get stuck in a phone booth this year. I think they're going to play their game. I think Ohio State's going to play their game. Michigan's corners, their top 4 corners, 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores. Not really ideal when you're facing Jeremiah Smith and this talented receiver room. I think Ryan Day learned his lesson from last year. I think that you want to talk about, like, I know technically as far as rankings go and like Big Ten championships hopes go, Michigan needs this one, but Ryan Day needs this more than Michigan does. I'll take the Buckeyes 28-13 over the Wolverines.
Good stuff. Also, a big game for Sharon Moore. I mean, if he wins this, I mean, you got to give him the job again. He's got to stay.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't think he's in jeopardy of leaving this year.
But
I know.
I'm saying that like in the sense if they win, there's no doubt. It's a no doubter. He's back.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Oh, I know where Jake Stinch goes. Jake, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm just gonna let you go first.
All right. So, number 12, Miami, has quietly just snuck their way back. I think they were as low as 19 or 20 or 21 and have made their way back to number 12. They should have never been that low. We talked about this last week or the week before about the College Football Playoff Committee and the Notre Dame thing, but that's a different conversation. 6.5-point favorites going on the road. The fighting Pat Narduzzi's, number 22, Pittsburgh. Pitt with a massive win last week against Tech, a win here, and they are going to the ACC Championship. When this line came out, I was very surprised that it was almost a touchdown in favor of Miami. I thought it'd be closer to a field goal, but I guess the books still really like Miami. I do too. I think Miami's a top 8 program in the country right now. I really believe that. Bad spots against SMU, and who was the other team they lost to? Louisville. Louisville, that's right. Very intriguing matchup here, massive. And what's crazy about it is Miami can win this game, and they're still not in the ACC championship. The ACC is a cluster as is. But I think Miami, I really think they roll here. Going to be a great environment, but I think that defensive line is going to be able to dominate Pitt's offensive line. When the Notre Dame game we watched, what's the backup quarterback's name for Pitt? I don't know his name.
Mason Heinschel.
Notre Dame had their way with that offensive line in that game. He was very uncomfortable. I know the weather wasn't in their favor, but I think Reuben Bain, that front 7 Miami, I think they come in physical. This is a big spot for Cristobal because if they lose this one and they're just completely out, that's not going to be a good look for him. I think they run the ball with Fletcher, and I think it's another one of those Miami, a road favorite, going on the road in a spot where playoff implications are on the line. Come out hot, come out quick, get the ball to guys like Tony and the Daniels, get up early. I think they roll here. I wrote down Miami 31-27. But I think it's the number's right. I like the number the more I think about it. So I'm going with the U here, 31-27.
Good stuff.
And we're headed to the playoffs, baby. Come on.
If they win, it's not necessarily a guarantee that they're in.
I think they're in. If they win, they're in. I really think so.
I mean, I hope you're right. If I know this playoff committee, I don't think that's the case. With that said, are you not worried about these South Florida boys traveling to Pittsburgh to play in 30-degree cloudy weather?
Nah.
You're not worried about it? Because this isn't the NFL. And they played in Texas, not necessarily a cold state. And they played in Virginia last week. But it was 60 degrees in Blacksburg, Virginia last week. They're playing in 30-degree weather in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you right now, I'm a little worried about it. Defense is a little banged up, not really healthy. I think this is a game where Carson Beck poops the bed, man. It just smells like it. It smells like it. It smells like it. And Pat Narduzzi only cares about ACC games. He's made that ultimately clear. I don't think Pitt emptied the clip last week against Tech. I think that's just product of Tech's defense being that bad. I really do believe that. I'm going to take the true freshman quarterback. This is one of the only upsets I'm calling. Even though I want to call a lot of upsets, I'm trying to pick my spots here. And I'm picking this one. 6.5 point spread. 2.5 and 6.5. Something about them, man. It gets me going. I'll take Pitt 24-21, pull off the upset, and play for a spot in the ACC championship game over Miami. Like, this is just what Cristobal does every year. He has it right in front of him. As soon as we start believing again, it gets ripped out. And I just think that Pitt defense is going to give Beck troubles, man. I really do. And I think Pitt will do enough, and they will win the turnover battle and get the job done.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Kind of an under the radar game too, with how much action's going on around the country this year. So
yeah, thank God this one's on Saturday and didn't get stuck on Friday with the 3-game SEC slate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Woo! The battle of the Pacific Northwest. Number 6 ranked Ducks laying 6.5 on the road at Washington, taking on the Huskies. Jed Fish trying to have a 9-win season there in year 2 after a little bit of a disappointing year last year. And Dan Lanning looking to make the playoff for the second straight year with the Oregon Ducks. We saw Oregon last week it was kind of never in doubt after that punt return for a touchdown against USC. In my opinion, there was never a doubt that I thought Oregon was going to win the game. Ultimately ended up covering. And Washington, they were on the up. They lost to Michigan in the middle of the year. Then they went on a little bit of a win streak, beat Illinois. They're a different team at home, man. Then they go on the road to Wisconsin, and it was just a complete blunder. It's a complete blunder. I swear if they play that game 10 times, Washington wins 7 or 8 of them. Like, it's not even close. But they lost. And then they've won a few games. They did really good against UCLA last week. And this is a frisky team that can give teams trouble. What is your ultimate take on this game, Jake? Like, how do you think this one's going to play out? Because some people I've heard saying, yeah, they've gotten really good at running the ball with their 3-back stable led by Noah Whittington. And Washington's defense just isn't going to be able to hold up. They'll wear them down. But how much is the home field going to play into this game? And I've also seen Washington, you just don't know what DeMond Williams is going to show up. Is he going to be the one that shows up where he turns the ball over a little bit, or is he going to be freaky with the legs? And I know they're getting Coleman and Boston back this week. Like, I feel like this one really could go either way depending on what Washington team shows up, and I know that they are very good at home. What's your 2 cents on it?
Points. I think this is going to be a marquee classic game that we will look back on for years to come. 2 great, exciting quarterbacks to watch, DeMond Williams and Dante Moore. And one thing about Washington, like you said, they're a different team at home. Their only loss at home all year is the number 1 team in the country. A game what the scoreboard doesn't really show how close it was. I think it was 24-6, but Washington had the ball in Ohio State territory several times early with a chance to put up points and could come away with a field goal or turn the ball over. And in the second half, it was just Ohio State, just clock control. I think we see a lot of points. And what I was going to say pre-show, and the thing I was talking about revolves around this game, is that this sucks because it's a night game, right? This is a part of the night slate on Saturday. Preseason, when we first started talking about
this is 3:30 CBS. Brad and Gary on the call.
Okay,
which is criminal. They should be calling the Iron Bowl. Just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was a game that we had been talking about. Washington was a team that we were talking about when we started talking about getting this show back rolling. We had talked about the Huskies. And that this was a team that nobody else is talking about. It's Jake and Hunter's team, and they're going to be 9-2 going into rivalry week with Oregon at home. And this was the game we had highlighted, and they blew it. It really does suck because that would be so electric if we had the opportunity for that on Saturday night. The game's still exciting. Still going to be watching it. But it would have been really, 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 really cool if we would have called that out and we had a chance to let it come to life on Saturday night. Like if they were the number 15 team in the country, like Michigan with a chance to win. Man, that really does suck. But
how did they lose to Wisconsin and let the punter throw for the most yards? It was just so bad. Like we had it right there in front of us, Jake. It was right there.
I know.
And it would have been a win and you're in game. If Washington would have gone 10-2 and beat Oregon this year, they would have been in.
Yep, 100%. So aside from that, I think we see both quarterbacks play very good and just throw the ball over the yard. Like you said, they get Washington's getting Coleman and Boston back. I think this is a must watch game. You're going to have the multi view up on YouTube TV for this one during Tennessee and Vandy. I'm excited. Like you said, we're picking our spots for the upsets here. I am taking Washington. I'm going to go 28-27.
I'm going Oregon 28-24. I think it's a little bit, I guess we're around the same points there. But I think Washington covers. I think they keep it interesting, but ultimately I do think that Oregon run game and then Kenyon Sadiq end up being the X factor in this game. Ooh. Is the Pavia party still rolling? Because I kind of feel bad for Vandy. They're going to go, if they go 10-2, they're still not getting in. Like they've hit their ceiling. The committee has made it ultimately clear that Vanderbilt is not getting into the playoff this year, which is sad because, I mean, when's the next time that this university is going to have a football team that's going to go 10-2, right? So I kind of hate it for them. With that said, the 14th ranked Commodores are traveling to Knoxville to take on the 19th ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee favored by 2.5 at home. Very interesting game. Anyways, Tennessee is favored by 2.5 at home this year. And very interesting game. I think it's going to be a lot of points. I got to run, so I'm going to give a quick score prediction on this one. I think Vanderbilt's one goal, obviously, yes, to win this game, but they're trying to get Diego Pavia the Heisman. I think they're going to try and score a lot of points. I'm picking another upset in this one. Give me Vandy 38-35 in this one. I think it's going to be a lot of points, and I think that the Commodores get it done, and they're going to be hoping for the playoff at the end of the year. So
good stuff, Hunt. I actually have Tennessee 38-35, so we're right there on score prediction. All right, so just me. I'm going to finish this out here. Tennessee hosting Vandy on Saturday. This is a game a lot of people, public, everybody's all over the Pavia train. I think Joey Aguilar played one of his best games last week against Florida, and they're going to roll with that momentum into this one. Vandy, they've survived they've survived a lot this year, and a lot of games that they might not have should have won, like the Missouri game sticks out to me. And I think that Tennessee puts up more points here. I think it's a shootout. Hunt's got Vandy 38-35. I'm taking the Vols 38-5 on their senior day in Knoxville and crushing Vandy's playoff hopes. We'll move on to the next one here. Big one, Iron Ball. I hate Hunt wasn't here for this one. Bama going into Auburn, 5.5-point favorites. This line's moved a lot back and forth throughout the week. Another game that massive playoff implications on the line, because if Bama were to sneak around or mess around and lose this game, their season might be over. Well, it will be. Or that'll be their third loss. There's no way they're in, especially with them sitting at number 10. But that would just be crazy to think about, as they've been sitting in the top 4 or 5 for the majority of the year since they beat Georgia. So for this is another one that I was talking about. Alabama road favorite going into Auburn. You don't want to let this team hang around. Auburn, one of the best front sevens in the country, and going into that atmosphere on Saturday night, if it gets to be halftime and it's a tie game, it's a 3-point, one-score game, those are dangerous waters for Alabama in my eyes, just because anything can happen in Jordan-Hare at night, and this is a game they want. They're fighting for bowl eligibility. I believe they're 5-6, so a win here gets them a bowl game, and it's Alabama. I mean, they hate each other. Brandon Walker says it best. They're willing to shoot each other over this game, which is hilarious. So I'm very excited for this one. Alabama, the thing that concerns me, even if they win this game, the one thing holding me back from picking Alabama to go and win the national championship is their inability to run the football. They have not been able to run the football all year. Even with Jam Miller finally getting healthy and getting back in the lineup, they just haven't been able to get the run game going, and that's a problem. And I think that's mandatory in the SEC going on the road. You have to be able to run the football to some extent to be able to have success offensively. And that helps Ty Simpson as well, because if you can establish the run game on Saturday night with a front seven like Auburn, you can hit a few play actions off that, RPOs, quick game, stuff like that. And if they have to lean on the pass game and Auburn dials up pressure with that front seven, and get Ty Simpson uncomfortable, that's where they're going to be able to beat them. So very interesting matchup. That's the matchup I'm looking forward to watching the most, is that Auburn front seven against the Alabama offensive line. And then Auburn offensively, I believe Ashton Daniels is going in this one. That's Hunter's guy. You heard it from Mr. Waldrop earlier. Yeah, I mean, get the ball to your playmakers. Hit your shots when they're there. Try to establish a run game, and just keep this one close. Give your shot going into the fourth quarter, because like we said, anything can happen in Jordan-Hare at night. My as a score prediction, as a prediction for the game goes, I'm going Bama 27-21 with a cover if you get it at 5.5. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on Auburn yet, but this is a coin flip, man. I could see it going either way, but it is hard for me to imagine Auburn winning this and crushing Alabama's season. That would just be crazy to think about, the roller coaster of a season they've gone through, from losing to Florida State week 1, then going into Athens and beating Alabama, going into a gauntlet of a SEC slate, winning all of them, and then getting to the end of it with Oklahoma, and Oklahoma crushing them. So I'm going with Alabama here, and I think they'll be a playoff team. So, all right, so that's it for the preview. Going to move on to the lock box. I'll go over our records real quick here. First place, we got Tyler. He's been spraying the board, 35-24-9, the 9 and the tie there. So he's 35-24 in his picks. The 9 is for weeks he's been off and hadn't been able to make picks. Hunter's 34-34, right at even, and I'm 31-37. I've been the fade guy on the pod this year. It's been the struggle bus. But we're looking to get back. I think we're on back-to-back positive weeks, winning weeks. So we're going to keep it rolling here. I'm going to go through Hunter's and Tyler's best bets, and then I'll get to mine. So Hunter's, he's got Texas plus 2.5 at home against A&M. He already picked them to win that game outright earlier. And then he's got a little teaser, Iowa at Nebraska. Iowa's favored by 6 here. The total was 46. He's going with the maybe not. I'm wrong. Sorry about that, guys. He is taking the under in Iowa and Nebraska, under 40 points. He's got a low-scoring game. I like that a lot, just with the style of football that both of them play. Nebraska has a bunch of injuries. Raiola's out for the year. They haven't been able to put up points since he got hurt in that USC game. So I believe I could see that being like an Iowa 13-7 game, truthfully. And then he's got the Georgia team total over 37.5. Going up against Tech. Like I said, I don't think Tech's going to be able to stop Georgia's offense. I really don't. I think in order for them to win the game, they're going to have to win in a shootout like last year, because that defense is just not very physical, not as fast. And I think Georgia has enough playmakers all over the field to find holes in that defense. He's got Ohio State minus 9.5. He's laying the number against Michigan on Saturday, and then he's taking the under and LSU Oklahoma under 36. Wow, that number is 36.5. I had no clue. That's a low number for an SEC game. He's got the under 36.5 and LSU going on the road to Oklahoma. Oklahoma, man, all you got to do is win and you're in. We didn't talk about that game, but all you have to do is win and you are a playoff team, Brent Venables. All right, Tyler, he's got Texas plus 2.5. Also, both of them have Texas. I'm on A&M. He's also got Ohio State minus 9.5. He's got Vandy plus 3.5. He's on the Pavia train. Tyler's got Alabama minus 6 as well, and Ole Miss minus 7.5. So Tyler hit all of the big ones this week. So basically, he's got Texas, Ohio State, Vandy, Bama, and Ole Miss all taking care of business this week. All right, on to mine. I'm going to get my notes pulled up here. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. All right, so first one, Clemson going on the road to South Carolina. 2.5 point favorites. This is a disgusting game that nobody's going to be watching at all on Saturday. There's so much. You got 12 o'clock. Everybody's going to be watching the Michigan-Ohio State game. Clemson has started to play way better over the past 3 weeks. They had the FSU win at home 3 weeks ago. Then they go on the road and beat Louisville on a Friday night on a short week's rest, crush Louisville's season, and then they roll against Furman last week. South Carolina, man, they had the worst SEC performances I've seen all year. They played terrible, and it's very sad because of the offensive weapons they have. And Dylan Stewart, is it Dylan Stewart? I can't think right now. The edge rusher they have, very disappointing. And just because of the preseason talk around South Carolina, they were supposed to be a team that we'd be talking about in November as a potential playoff team, but has just gone downhill. They had Texas A&M beat at halftime, 31-3, 30-3, let them right back into that game. And to me, that's because South Carolina, Shane Beamer's teams, they're so unorganized is the way I would put it. It's all chaos. It doesn't look like there's a plan offensively or just as a team. It's like they're going with the flow and just making decisions as they go. There's nothing scheduled or like pre-decided is the feel around South Carolina. And you can see that offensively. After their first 15 plays of the script, that offense is like chaos. You have no clue what's coming. Lenoris is running for his life. The only offensive check marks are good that they have is when they throw the ball to Nick Harbor on go routes. That's all the success they've had, and it works out good for him because he's a track star. What's up, Tyler? I'm going solo right now because Hunter had to leave for Thanksgiving dinner.
Hey, Pod.
Here's our producer.
How about them dogs?
Yep. All right, so I'm taking, with all that being said, I'm taking Clemson plus 2.5 here. I think South Carolina's dead. Not a very motivated team. And I'm going with Clemson, who's been playing better down the stretch, better coach, better quarterback thus far. So I'm taking Clemson with the points plus 2.5. The next one we already talked about it, Washington at home against Oregon. They're a different team at home. Their lone loss this season at home is against the number one team in the country. I'm taking the Huskies outright, and I'm taking the 6.5 for sure. And what I think is going to be a classic between Washington and Oregon, and another step in the right direction for Jedd Fisch in year 2. I hope that he stays at Washington. I like that combo he's got with Damon Williams, and that's going to be a dangerous duo in the Big Ten next year if both of them were to stay. Cal plus 13.5 at home, another team that we love to play. This podcast loves to play at home. They have SMU at home. SMU just got back into the rankings for the first time since last year. Has been a team that's kind of been quiet and found their way back in the mix in the ACC. And to me, honestly, man, SMU, the defense isn't great. They got that Miami win a few weeks back based off of 2 or 3 bad turnovers from Carson back in the red zone. That was a game that I personally think they had no business winning. I think 13.5 is too much here for a Cal team. I believe they're fighting for bowl eligibility as well. So I'm taking Cal to keep it within 2 scores at home on Saturday. Jacksonville State against Western Kentucky at home, Conference USA, another conference that has no clue who their conference championship game is going to be. It's either going to be Western Kentucky, Kennesaw State, or Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State's a team that I've loved all year. They're undefeated at home. Who the winner of this game, between them and Western Kentucky, is in the Conference USA Championship. I'm rolling with Jacksonville State here. They've been great at home this year. I'm taking the 2.5 with them being a home dog. And the last one, I hate this pick so much. Purdue at home, senior day, 0 wins in the Big Ten. Plus 28.5 against Indiana. Indiana, they're going to be it's a look-ahead game for them. They got the biggest game of their program next week against Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. It's Purdue senior day. Let's play with a little bit of pride, finish it out strong here, and keep it within 4 scores. So that's a dirty one. Don't tell it. Podcast 129, play of the week. We love to play. Last chance we have here to bet this team at home at midnight on Saturday night. It's our favorite pastime, our favorite college football tradition. Hawaii on their senior day. They got Wyoming coming down to the island. Hawaii 7.5 point favorites, and we're laying the number. We love a 7.5 point favorite. So the podcast 129 play of the week. I believe this is undefeated because we've had Gunner touchdown. I forgot who else we've had, but this play is like undefeated so far since we put in the play of the week. Triple option plus 575. We got 3 gentlemen to get in the end zone. It starts on Friday at 3:30 and it ends Saturday night in the Iron Bowl. Give us Haynes King to get in the end zone. Give us Jeremiah Smith to get in the end zone, and give us Ryan Williams to get in the end zone against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. $10 brings home $57.50. That is podcast 129 triple option this week. Saturday Shockers. Hunter's got LSU against Oklahoma. He's preparing himself for disaster. In the event that LSU goes into Norman and beats Oklahoma and ruins their season, that would be insane. Low total here. Expect to not see a lot of points. And then our next shocker, we got Georgia Tech plus 400. That is mine, and I'd put that on there not to prepare myself for being upset, but just for the fact that Tech needs this one. I guarantee you that Brent Key has been telling his team all week that if we win this, we're in the playoff. We have a chance to be in the playoff. this is their Super Bowl. They've been so close the past 2 seasons. And I think 13.5 is way too much as an unbiased person looking at the game. So I got Tech plus 400. And then Tyler, his Saturday shocker, he's got Vandy plus 130. Don't know how much of a shocker that would be, but it is plus money. They are the underdog when you look at it from a gambling perspective. So Tyler's got Vandy. So our Saturday shockers, we got LSU, Georgia Tech, and Vanderbilt. And that's it for this week's edition, the Rivalry Week edition of Podcast 129. Thank you guys for tuning in throughout the year. I know we've had some bye weeks. We've had weeks where we're all not together, but we're doing our best. We appreciate the loyal ones who tune in every week to listen to what we have to say. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please go watch us. Hunter does a good job putting our slides up. You can see our beautiful, ugly faces. When you watch us on YouTube, we appreciate you guys tuning in. That is Podcast 129.